Oh, thank you. Yeah, so this work right here was made with like me and my friends. A lot of my friends live up in Harlem. A lot of this work on this side, this is all in New York City in different neighborhoods. Mostly Harlem though, because a lot of my friends live up there. Like my friend Azalea with her daughter right there and her daughter's friend. My friend Don, my friend Adiambo. And then my friend Alex sort of lived everywhere. He still kind of does. But yeah, I mean with this, I mean how many people have like really seen like images of people who are like with disabilities or wheelchair users? Like do you see those a lot? On the bus? Okay.
You see images or you see the people?
People. And what about photographs or like exhibitions or anything like that? Sometimes in movies?
Not like on ads. When you like watch YouTube ads.
Yeah. Yeah, healthcare, like advertisements. Yeah, so, I mean, what do people notice? Like, what do people think like these pictures sort of have in common with each other? Like, what are some similarities, or do you notice anything about the series of pictures together?
I noticed that most of them have disabilities.
Yeah, they all have disabilities.
They're all doing their own things, you know, having fun.
And they have someone that take care of them.
Yeah, so you said relationships, people doing their own thing. It's all people with disabilities.
But also maybe about government's not helping enough, maybe. Like,
Okay, what photo makes you think the government's not helping enough?
maybe going on the subway, going up the subway.
Yeah.
Should I have an elevator for them?
Yeah, and then you had a question?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, is there any special reason why they all black and white?
There's no special reason, really. I personally just like black and white photography. And I think the thing is sometimes with color photography, the colors can be somewhat distracting. Like you might be looking at a photo and really love it just because the colors are really beautiful, and your eye can be sort of attracted to those colors. Whereas I think more so with black and white, it sort of eliminates all that, and instead of like looking at any of the colors or whatever, you're sort of looking exactly at like what's happening in the frame. So you're more drawn to like what's actually happening versus your eye getting distracted to like some colors or whatever. You're more focused on like what's actually happening or taking place in the photograph. Yeah. Yeah.
About your process as an artist. I mean, are you just walking up to people and snap and that's it, or do you like pose or have conversations with people?
Oh, okay.
And then when you develop your, how do you choose the photographs that you think best speak to what you're trying to communicate?
So the first question was, do I just like walk up to people and like take their picture or snap and then leave? I'm not really like a street photographer. I think like when I first started making pictures, I would like be on the streets, and it's a good way to sort of like train your eye, I think. But like with this project, this was like all like my really good friends from the city. So the dude with the tattoo on his head, his name's Alex, and he was actually like one of my first friends I met when I moved to New York City, and he introduced me to like his friends, so like Azalea and Adiambo and Donahue and Valerie, and everyone here, like that was sort of like the group he kicked it with, because there's actually like a center for people with disabilities in Harlem, like off 115th and Madison, and it's called Axis. So like all my friends would sort of get together there at like this community center. So I got to know everyone like super well. And originally I called this like series Adopted Family because when I first moved to New York, like I didn't really have a lot of friends or family. I was just alone. And I was, using a wheelchair, and New York can already feel like sort of a lonely place, I think, sometimes, even though there's like so many people. So like for me, this is like my family, and I sort of felt like when I moved here, they just kind of took me in with open arms. Like, I really felt like they sort of adopted me into their family. That was the community in New York. And I guess when it came to like selecting pictures, it's always like different for when you do different things. So like for, you know, a photo essay that might be in the New York Times, maybe it's 10 pictures, right? So, and then what do you want to say? Like, so that picture of the cops carrying my wheelchair down the stairs at the Utica Ave subway station, I did a whole piece about like how there aren't enough elevators in the subways. So for those pictures, it was mostly ones having to do with that. So like in the subway, people in the subway, it was like very thematic. Whereas with this, I sort of just wanted to make like a love letter to my friends and the city. It was like I just wanted to really like show my love to everyone because, I mean, yeah, they're like beautiful parents and friends and brothers and sisters and family. And to me, like, you know, they took me in and I just really felt like, you know, if I had to say like thank you in some way or to really express like all the beauty in the community, like I wanted to do it in a way that wasn't like thematic. Like, you know, I wanted to show someone boxing next to like my friend Adi like cleaning a cut off his son's chin versus like my friend at a baby shower. And it was sort of like, you know, wanting to show like the beauty of life, but, you know, also some of the struggles that we have as a community. Like, you know, yeah, like having access to healthcare, where you see right there, like in the top left, there's a photo of us like protesting outside of what was Trump Tower at the time, because he was talking about getting rid of the amendment in Obamacare that said like you can't deny people insurance coverage due to pre-existing conditions, and he was trying to like wipe that out and like reduce SSI and all these things that a lot of people like rely on in the community. So, you know, I wanted to throw that in there to show some of the like the political activism that is in the community, because I mean it's part of it, you know. I just really wanted to show like a broad spectrum of life, like the protests, the family life, people's children, people hanging out like having a beer. We had like a wheelchair football game, and afterwards like everyone was just kind of kicking it, like hanging out, you know, just like anyone else, you know. Like I think you said, you know, it's just people doing their own thing, having fun, like living. And I just feel like that's really what I wanted to like represent with that, was like just showing that like, you know, people with disabilities or wheelchair users, like we're no different than like anyone else, whether or not you're in a wheelchair. Like we all want the same sort of things out of life. Like we want a family, we want to have fun, we want to like play sports, we want to take pictures. Like just because, you know, you use a wheelchair doesn't mean you're like any different from anyone else. But a lot of times, you know, there is a lot of stigma around wheelchair users or just disabilities. People don't really understand it that much. And, you know, part of the essay I did in the New York Times was about the accessibility of the elevators, but it was also just about how, like, when I'm in public, like, people stare at me all the time. Like, just all the time. I mean, when I'm rolling down the street, if it's little kids or, you know, adults, like, kind of breaking their neck to, like, look at me as I roll by, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't know. So sometimes, you know, it feels like sort of stigmatizing. And even like with my leg braces, if I'm walking, I'll notice people just all like, I'll walk by and they're just like staring at my legs like the whole time. And, or like when people talk to me, they'll just immediately ask me like, what's wrong with me? And I always just say like, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, I don't know, like what's wrong with you? Like, why would you ask me that? Like, I don't even know you. Like, it's just kind of brazen, you know, or like, so I just think like there's just not a lot of education or like, you know, understanding about like what it means to be a wheelchair user or someone with a disability. And I think a lot of my work, like with this panel, I mean the other 3 panels are like self-portraits and it's about my life. But with this panel, it was just really much about like, yeah, just showing that, you know, we're no different than anyone else. So yeah, this started in like 2017, and I'm still working on it. It's not done or anything. And how many people are you guys working on like any photo projects yourself, or?
We're gonna do a portrait today.
Doing a portrait today?
Yeah. Do you have any advice for them? Like, as seniors, they're gonna try to like sort of document the moment.
Oh, that's nice. Like a group picture?
Yeah, no, they're gonna take pictures of a friend, like a partner.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I would say, you know, just do something that feels right. Like, I don't know, I feel like with portraiture, a lot of times, like, your first instinct will sort of be, like, a lot of times the best one. I don't know, like, I'll be, like, taking portraits of people sometimes, and I'll shoot, like, 2 rolls, and it's usually, like, the first, like, 2 frames where I'm like, oh, yeah, I got it. Like, all these other ones, I was just trying to, like, replicate what I got. But yeah, I mean, I think like the inclination for a lot of people when you take portraits is to kind of like cheese it up, you know, like, yo, what up? Or like pose or like, I don't know, which is cool, like if you want to be like represented like that. But like another cool thing I think with portraiture is to also like ask someone how they want to be photographed. So like instead of just being like, oh, do this, that person might not like that, or they might not want to be shown like that, or they might be like, have a side of them maybe that they're self-conscious about or like whatever. Or they might have a really good idea. So I would say like with portraiture, just because you have a camera doesn't mean that like you have like all the power, I guess. Like, so you should like ask people like, yo, what do you think? Or like, how do you want to be photographed? Or like, I don't know, like, yeah, what are your ideas? Like, try to make it more of a co-creative, like collaborative kind of thing versus just like sort of taking control and like telling people what to do. Like, that's more like punitive, and I don't know. Sometimes it works, and sometimes when you're on assignment, you have to do stuff like that. But I would say because you're a class and it's your seniors, and I'm sure you guys are all really close, you know, you should make something special together. So it's good. Okay. Well, anyway,
Thanks so much.
no, thank you. Thank you. I hope you learned something. I learned something. Yeah.